Just as a disclaimer, we want you to know that some of the movies that we will be reviewing were shot in a different time and era where people of race and sex were not treated equally. We understand this and hope you do too. The movies or anything that happened on the sets are not the views of this podcast or what this show is intended to be all about.
Exactly. And we want to give due diligence in presenting the movie and not the views of the cast or directors or anyone involved. But we also feel it's necessary to let the audience know some of the background information to get a feel for what was happening at the time of shooting the film. Again, we hope you understand that we do not agree with everything that went on, and we just want to give out the information. And with that being said, hope you enjoy the show.
There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
The home of Mr. Gregory West, one of America's most noted playwrights. The office of Mr. Gregory West. Mr. Gregory West, shy, quiet, and at the moment, very happy. Merry, warm, affectionate.
You really should be working, you know.
You're nagging me.
I'm only thinking of posterity.
Think of me instead.
Don't I always?
Yes, you do. Dry enough?
We'll let the master decide.
Perfect, as always.
Are you describing yourself, Mr. West?
Let the mistress decide.
She's decided.
And the final ingredient, Mrs. Gregory West.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast, the Twilight Zone series. This is it. This is the final episode of Season 1. We have made it episode 36. I'm your host, Jimbo, and alongside me is the co-host, the host with the most, the co-host,
A-D-Z.
The A-D-Z.
The A-D-Z.
Still in the studio.
3 in a row, man.
Stuck in the fifth dimension.
Yeah, we're stuck here for a long time.
Yeah.
That's good, though. We got a lot of catching up to do.
Right. So, Eric, we've made it to the final episode, and it's a pretty good one to end on.
Yeah, it's
I enjoyed this
good.
episode. So,
yeah.
It's a world of his own. So, Eric, let's just go ahead and jump in there and get this one over.
All right, launch right in, a world of his own. This is the Twilight series, Season 1, the final episode, episode number 36. And it was directed by Ralph Nelson, and it was written by Richard Matheson. The original air date for this particular episode is July 1st, 1960. And the total production costs are way down for this episode. It was only $33,438.07. And once again, as we adjust that for inflation, we're looking at $308,401.80 with an 822% adjusted for inflation percentage. And I'll just throw out the tech specs again. This is black and white. It's 25-minute runtime, and all the particular aspects of the tech specs are the same for this episode as well. Jimbo, I'll let you take the cast, which is a pretty shortened cast for this episode.
Pretty short cast. Some people say there's only 3 cast members, as Eric stated off air. But I had to remind him, oh no, there is a 4th member, which we will get to. So Keenan Wynn starred as the main actor, Gregory West. He does an outstanding job in this episode. You might remember him from Dr. Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, probably the longest movie name in history.
Yeah. He's got...
it's in the top 100 movies of all time, so we are going to cover it at some point.
Sorry. I didn't mean to walk on you there, Jimbo. But, he has 282 credits to his name. He's a long, illustrious acting career.
Yeah, and he played Colonel Bat Guano in that movie. You had Phyllis Kirk as Victoria West, which Eric really likes her performance in this one. And then you have Mary LaRoche as Mary.
Mary LaRoche.
She was famous for the movie Bye Bye Birdie, where she played Doris McAfee. Did you ever see that one?
No, I haven't seen that movie. I know it's a pretty famous movie,
musical.
Probably top 100 musical.
And then you have, she was also in Gidget, where she played Mrs. Dorothy Lawrence. And yes, there is a fourth member of this cast, which is MODOK the elephant. He's uncredited, but yes, MODOK the elephant was in there. And then if we wanted to get technical, there is a fifth person in this episode, which we will wait till the end to reveal that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say who that is.
Yeah,
so.
There's some trivia that goes along with that as well.
Right.
Let me just knock out the plot here. Peeking into the window of her husband Gregory's study, Victoria West sees him with a beautiful woman. Uh-oh. When she finally gets into the room, however, the woman is nowhere to be found. His explanation is preposterous. He claims that when he speaks into his dictaphone machine, the characters for his play come to life before his eyes. Victoria's first reaction is that her husband should be committed, and a demonstration still doesn't quite convince her. Gregory has something else to show her. Ooh,
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, leaves you a cliffhanger there with a little plot. So, do we want to go ahead and jump right into
Jump right on in.
The episode opens, I think one of the first scenes is actually Victoria looking in the window, possibly. Well, obviously we have Rod's narration, and he kind of sets the stage, and he describes Gregory as a great playwright, and he's very shy and quiet. He's describing Mary, who's very shy and quiet and very affectionate, and the camera pans to Mary, who is making him a drink. He's making Mr. Gregory West a drink, and she seems like a very nice lady, and you don't really know what she is at this point. It just seems like a husband and wife enjoying an afternoon together in the guy's office, and then very soon we discover that what we think is Mary is like a mistress, and after they exchange these pleasantries, then the camera pans over to the window, and we see Victoria appearing in the window, and she is just absolutely beside herself.
Did you notice the different colors that are used?
No.
Mary's in white, and the lady's in dark clothing, black clothing. So I thought that was very interesting too, because you could tell by their characteristics. Mary's very warm, loving, and all that. Victoria's very mean, cruel.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty interesting play on outfits too.
Right, and he even says that he Gregory made Victoria very assertive and not very compassionate, and that's one of the things he's seeking from Mary. He talks about that later in the episode.
Right.
So Victoria's banging on the outside office door, like, let me in, like, what's going on in there, and I can't remember exactly what she said. I want to be a moment, I want to come in and kiss you, And
you can tell she knows there's somebody in there.
Yeah, she's really wanting the gotcha moment where she finds him with this mistress of sorts. And so he opens the door, Gregory opens the door, and Victoria looks around the room, and there's no one in the room. And she's confused, befuddled, whatever.
Where's she at? I've seen her in the window.
Yeah. And, Gregory sort of plays along. That's the characteristic about him the most. Being that creator, he plays with people, and he plays with their emotions, and you can really tell. Because before, he's holding the scissors in his hand when he goes and answers the door. But later on, we come to find out that through the dictaphone, he has this magnetic tape that runs these old style dictaphones, and he clips off a piece of that tape to erase, basically, he creates and he uncreates, and he's uncreating these characters by throwing their tape into the fire.
Right.
And so that all is explained here in these initial scenes. And he tries to explain it to Victoria. Of course, she doesn't believe it.
She thinks he's crazy.
Yeah, that he can bring someone to life. It's funny, too. This is why I like her so much. She's going around banging on the walls, trying to find her and looking behind curtains. And, you know, she just can't figure out what's going on. And when he tells her, when he discloses all of this about the dictaphone and how he creates things out of his imagination and how they come to life, she wants to have him committed, right? She wants to have him... I'm calling the psychiatrist or whatever she says. And Jimbo, do you want to... is there anything that sticks out in these first opening few scenes to you?
No, just she's very curious and she knows what she saw, and she still thinks she's hidden here somewhere. There's got to be a secret compartment, a trap door, something. Mm-hmm. He's like, now look, he's like, why would I do that, and where would I put her? You know, or if there she was here, and he's like, I'm telling you, you know, it's all here in this dictaphone. And she still doesn't know under his desk. She's just very, what's the word I'm
suspicious.
looking for? Yeah. She actually saw her. We all seen her saw her. You know, right. we all saw her. But she's gone. And we don't know what happened to her at this point of the movie, or at the point of the episode yet.
Yeah, she thinks that she's like, well, maybe I was suffering from hallucinations because I could have sworn that there was someone when I was looking through the window. I know that there was someone. And she describes her as having, you know, masses of blonde hair and a frumpy shirt and, you know, skirt. She describes her. And then, and saying that, you know, this Mary character handed him a drink. And, you know, that's when he finally discloses to her. And he says, it's really simple, I can explain. And that's what we talked about earlier. He explains the whole dictaphone situation. And then we'll fast forward a little bit ahead into the
we got a little siren going by right now, too. So if you hear that.
Maybe we can edit that out.
No, leave it in there. Bill's character.
He says, I can describe any character I want.
She's like, you need to be put away. You're crazy.
Right. And she goes to run out the door to get away from him. And is this the part where he goes into his dictaphone? Does he bring Mary back here, or is this the elephant scene? Where he describes the elephant?
No, I think he locks her in there, remember?
That's right, he does, yeah. He has the key in his pocket. And
he starts talking in there about, I think, because already bringing Mary back, right? He brings
Mary back. And it hurts her, too, like, because every time she gets, you know, thrown in the fire, you know, is another time that she's brought to life and then has to be taken away. And you can really tell that really wears on her.
Let me ask you a question. If he dictates something in the phone, cuts the tape, throws it in the fire, creates her again, why does she have the same memories?
That's a good question.
Because you sit there and watch him say what he's saying in the dictaphone.
Right.
But later in the episode, she's like, I can't do this anymore. You can't keep bringing me back. So she has feelings still tied to her character, which she shouldn't have.
Right.
And this is funny, too, when he's like, she's coming up to the front door. She's opening the front door. She's closing the front door. She's coming to the study. And she opens the study, and she peers around the corner, and her and Victoria see each other.
Yeah, they share a look. Yeah, that's when she kind of is like, okay, that look of... like,
what's going on?
And then we go to commercial after the meeting of the two women. And then Victoria says, I think this is some sort of fiendish plot and making up some ridiculous story to
bringing characters to life.
To kind of get a way out of the marriage, a way to get rid of me.
I think she thinks she went through a window and then came to the front door or whatever, so...
Right.
And he's like, you want to have me committed? And she's like, why not? So he locks the door.
Again, yeah, because I think at some point she stole the key, but then she runs...
No, not yet.
Not yet?
No, I think she was getting ready to go out the front door when she opened it when the other one came in.
Right.
But I think she steals the keys when he starts going... she's like, I'm leaving, I'm going to have you committed. Because he says, here, I'm going to get rid of her. And she's like, please don't bring me back again.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't do it anymore. And he's like, Mary, so is this what you want me to do? So he ends up throwing that Mary's tape into the fire, and it does a little poof,
Right.
and she disappears. And then Victoria's like, where'd she go? Where is she? And she's like, if I do this, he said, will you please stay? I want you to stay. And she's like, yeah, I promise I'll stay. And he's like, she's my wife. You're just basically a hallucination or whatever. So she disappears, and he's like, I told you he would stay. She's like, oh dear. And she starts playing nice with him, if you will. And gives him a hug and kiss, and she reaches down into his pocket, steals the key. And he's like, well, you will stay with me, right? She's like, yeah. And she's like, I didn't want to, create her to insult you. You're my wife, pretty much. So he goes, and he's depressed. You can tell I just destroyed another creation, and she didn't want me to create her. And she's like, he's like, you understand now? She's like, oh, yeah, I understand you need to be committed, pretty much.
And this is where she sort of makes a break for it, right?
Yeah, she's running over to the door, and she's going, I'm right out here, and going to the door.
And this is where he
talked about a giant red-eyed elephant in the hallway blocking her thing. And she opens the door, and there's MODOK in all his glory.
Yeah. That was a great scene.
And she is petrified. Exactly.
She's scared to death, and she's like, okay, well, let me rethink my strategy here. Like, will you get this elephant out of the hall so that I can leave? And is this the scene where he goes over, or not yet? He goes over eventually. I'm going to skip forward a few dialogue scenes where he goes over to the safe and he pulls out an envelope. And it has Victoria's name.
I like how the safe is actually embedded into the bookcase.
Right.
So his wife would have never looked to go into the bookcase. So he opens up the bookcase, and there's this old safe in there, and he opens it up. There's an envelope, and it says Victoria West.
And she says, what's this supposed to mean? And so he takes it out, and it's the tape of her. So Victoria herself is a
creation of the
his own mind, yeah. And so I put this back in the safe, or he says, or throw it into the fire.
She's like...
And she's like, you're not seriously trying to, make me believe that I'm not real. And he sort of describes her, look at you, you're regal and beautiful, and you could have any man in the world that you wanted. Haven't you wondered, why you basically picked me? He's like, well, I'm telling you, you're impeccable and flawless. You're just the sort of wife that I always used to think that I wanted. And this is where he kind of discloses to her that, that she doesn't really have the compassion that Mary has. That's kind of the difference. And then, he ends up throwing.
No, he doesn't. She grabs it from him.
Okay.
She grabs it from him.
I missed that.
Yeah, I watched this late last night, early this morning.
For it, and she
grabs it and she throws it for him.
And he actually tries to go in and get it.
And his hands, he can't get it. And she's like, I feel strange. She's like, you were telling the truth?
Yeah.
And she ends up, basically the envelope's melting away with the film, and she disappears. And so then he goes back over and he says her name was Victoria,
and
then he thinks,
remake her, right?
And then he stops. He's like,
nah. I think I'll make Mary this time.
Yeah. Like, her name was Mary.
Yeah.
And she's perfect. She's got the fluffy dress or fluffy shirt.
Okay, this is where
this is a great part. And
Mary
she's preparing
appears,
him a drink. Yeah.
And then she's preparing him a drink. And then Rod Serling pops up with a dictaphone at the desk. And this was, by way of trivia, this is the first time that he ever interjected himself into any of the episodes.
Oh, yeah, and what he says here is really great, too. He's like, we hope you enjoyed this on the Twilight Zone. He's like, it was, what's he say? At the same time, you want to realize that it was, of course, purely fictional. And this gets Wes looks at him, he's like, in real life, such ridiculous nonsense would never work. And Wes goes, Rod.
Right.
What's he say?
There's interaction.
You shouldn't have said
Gregory,
that.
And then
he goes over to the safe. He pulls out another envelope, and it says Rod Serling on it. And Rod just looks at him. He's like, "You shouldn't." Yeah, Wes says, "You shouldn't say something nonsense and ridiculous." And he throws Rod's envelope into the fire.
Yeah.
And what's Rod say?
This is a classic. Well, that's the way it goes.
Well, that's the way it goes. And he disappears.
Yeah, that was really cool. That I think it might have been maybe the only episode where he actually interacted with the
cast.
character. Yeah,
that we've come to for
yeah,
sure.
I know that this became more of a staple going forward, where he would
do the
be
intro
in the scene,
right.
doing the intro narration and
the
forth.
extra.
Yeah,
and he also did it in the famous Facts of Life episode. If you ever seen where Rod Serling was in the Facts of Life,
the 80s.
Oh
Facts
yeah,
of
it's a
Life?
great episode. Look it up. You will love it.
I'm a fan of the 80s,
Tootie.
of course. I can't believe I've never seen that.
Say Tootie. I'm telling you, it's my
Okay.
favorite Facts of Life episode.
All right.
So let's go ahead and do a little bit of trivia with this. This is, of course, one of the 4 episodes that begins with the eye instead of the spiral, which I hate.
We tried to look up who the eye was.
Yeah, I was trying to find out who the eye was, but
we couldn't find it.
no. This set is a modified version of Garrett Williams' living room in the Twilight Zone, A Stop at Willoughby.
Yeah, I have that down here too.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, they took out the staircase and some other things. They rearranged some things, and but yeah, the main part of the living room was used in that episode.
And you know what? And something else I didn't know until I was seeing this note was that's how Rod would do his scripts. He would dictate it into a dictaphone like that.
Yeah, I got that.
I thought that
written
was really cool. But it was like when he was lodging beside his pool. You know, he's out there by his pool, you know, doing his episodes.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear those. I think that would be really interesting if there was some way to save those. I can only imagine. You know what I mean? How many times do they have to stop and restart? Because there wasn't hardly any editing, you know.
Right, and apparently, like, he used to do he used to use typewriters almost exclusively up until like 1955, and he kept breaking them all the time. Apparently,
right?
Because I guess he would pound on the keys really hard, and then that was the reason why he went to the dictaphone because of that reason.
And then I just made the connection that Keenan Wynn is actually the son of Ed Wynn.
Yep.
From the episode One for the Ages, and I think he was in another one. I dropped my pen. One for the Ages, and what was the other one?
It's in
90 years without slumbering. So I thought that was very interesting. His dad was a great actor too.
Yeah, I have that down here too. Like I said earlier in the little biopic that I had of him, he had 282 credits. He was the talented scion, and he was in the show business. And Keenan's father was a great burlesque and television buffoon, Ed Wynn. And while his maternal grandfather, Frank Keenan, earned a distinction on the other side of the entertainment ladder as a Shakespearean tragedian. Probably not pronouncing that correctly. So apparently, one of his grandfathers was in Shakespeare plays, and I mean he comes from a long line of. And even his mother, it says here, Hilda Keenan was also a minor actress, and he would star with his father, Ed Wynn, in The Absent-Minded Professor. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it, and there's like a sequel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. Seen them.
I can't believe you haven't never seen those.
So yeah, he's got quite a lineage and heritage of being in the show business.
Right.
A lot of credits. This episode also marks Serling, we talked about this a little bit, first on-screen appearance on the television series, not counting the teasers that appeared at the end of each episode. It may not have been this very episode that convinced Buck Houghton and the sponsors that Serling was right for the on-screen host, beginning with the second episode.
Yeah, and that's something like you don't usually see it on Netflix and stuff, but like the Vudu version that I bought digitally at the end of it, which I showed you, that it actually shows Rod he's on the set of the next episode,
preview, yeah.
and he'll give you a little spoiler for the next week's preview, which I really like that.
Right, and the original Matheson script, was much darker, with the writer's creations coming to life and haunting him. I would have loved to have seen the original, but I guess they came to a decision. Rod and the other producers decided that it was a little bit too dark for the Twilight Zone, and they wanted to lighten it up a bit, I guess. But yeah, they were like demonic creations, I guess, that came back to haunt him, and that would have been cool.
This
actually.
This is like what we were talking about last episode. This is a way to do comedy in there without doing comedy for the whole show. You know what I mean? Especially the ending with Rod. I mean, that's comedy gold right there.
Yeah, for sure. And like Phyllis Kirk, I thought she was great, and bringing that element to her performance, I thought she did a great job.
Now, something I thought was pretty interesting is the use of the elephant.
Right.
Because
I think I read something about that.
No, but what I'm saying is that when she opens the door, I think you could say that they're trying to discuss the elephant in the room.
Oh, okay.
Which is you're not leaving, and you're a creation. Basically, I just think that was a symbolic for the elephant in the room. I thought that was very interesting because he could have used a tiger, could have used a lion, he could have used anything.
Sure.
But he used an elephant. So I thought that was pretty
very
interesting
symbolic.
too. Right.
I found out something interesting about elephants that they, the trainers have to work them back and forth to, for lack of a better term, to go to the restroom. And then he told, apparently the elephant trainer told him, all right, you guys, you got 2 hours now before it's going to be a world-ending dump, I guess. So they only had 2 hours to work with the elephants for, what was his name, Modoc? Yeah, Modoc only had 2 hours to do his scenes, or it would have been trouble. So, anything by way of questions or observations that you found interesting? Or you already asked one of the questions about, if he remade Mary, why did all of her memories come back?
That's why I don't understand. I don't understand that one. Because I mean, you obviously see him when he's bringing her back twice in this already. He doesn't say she has all her memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that kind of goes to my whole, I guess, the take that I got from it is that you really begin to question Gregory's integrity, the way he creates and disposes of the people that he creates. Like, he's not a good person. He's not painted in a very good light, and he has the power to create and he has the power to remove.
Well, let me ask you a question on that too. They said that he was a famous playwright or play. Did they say playwright or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he created his playwright characters that weren't actually actors, but they were on the dictaphone that actually came in and worked his plays, and that made him the famous playwright that he is?
Right. Yeah. That question, and then here's a dovetail question that goes with that. What if Gregory was the only real thing, and everything around him was his own creation, like his house and. What if he was the only quote-unquote real thing? So it's kind of like they portray it. I mean, if you take it to that extent, you could say that he was a god-like figure, which I don't like to use that term, but yeah, I didn't. Yeah, he's sort of maniacal, sort of he almost has sociopathic tendencies, where he's
got to be in control.
Exactly, he's a complete control freak, and yeah. Well, what if that's a good question? What if everything around him too is just like his characters in his plays? And all the people that he creates, his house,
maybe he doesn't even have characters in the play. Maybe he just said, "I am a famous playwright."
Yeah,
where he never even had to create the play.
Well, what if the Twilight Zone is actually his creation?
Okay, now you're going way down. Arctos is going to be all over you for this one. He's like, you went way off the trail.
Well, what if the Twilight Zone and Rod and everything is just a creation of him? Yeah, that's interesting. But
what if he's a creation himself?
What, he created himself?
Maybe somebody else created him.
Yeah, that's always. Yeah, that's always.
We could go a million miles.
We could go down that whole rabbit hole for a long way. Yeah, I just put this in as far as the postscript. No matter the character or lack thereof, if a man has enough power, he can do anything. Mm-hmm. Right, and Gregory is like that godlike figure.
What's
a lot of evil can come out of the minds.
What's that famous
men
quote?
With a lot of power.
Absolute power corrupts.
Absolutely. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So, well, there you have it. That is the last episode of season 1. Eric, we made it. Been a long time coming. A few bumps along the way, but hopefully we improved each and every week, each and every time we visited, which I think we did, because we came from Eric basically in a closet with some earbuds. Well, but I mean, at least it's improved. From where you first started.
Is improved,
right? So
the equipment is improved.
Eric was like, "Oh, I don't mind coming on, every once in a while." And the next thing I know, he's texting me at 2:30 in the morning. Hey, what about this? I found this book. I'm going down the rabbit hole. I bought this new wireless mic. He just went on and on. And I was like, "Well, I got him now. He's hooked." You know what I mean? So
for sure, I enjoy going back through these. It always takes me back, like we've talked before, it takes us back to the childhood on these classic TV shows. It may not be for everybody, but we get so much joy and fun out of, talking about it and looking this stuff up. But
different perspectives.
It takes us back to a good time, watching the old TV, and we only had 4 channels, and when the Twilight Zone would come on late at
Eric,
night,
hold the antenna,
or whatever, and it's been fun. What was the first episode we did, though? Going back to what you mentioned earlier, it took us how many takes?
Chance to Dream.
Yeah, that was the episode.
It took us, I think, 5 episodes. We spent probably 4 hours on that episode that night.
We were trying to get.
There was noises here. There was noises there. There was Like, it sounded like Eric was in the outer loop, outer dimension, like he was on the moon. But we finally got him hooked up with some nice equipment and everything.
Right.
So now it's all going smooth.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, because we will be doing a season 1 wrap up with our Tragedy Awards coming up here shortly. So it's going to be interesting, because there are some that I didn't expect to award this, but after I looked at the Twilight Zone season 1 as a whole, these are who I thought deserved these awards that I'm going to give, and we're going to get Eric's thoughts on his top 10 and all that too, and see where we cross and what we agree, disagree. Should be a good time, but it's not going to be very formal. It's going to be pretty much no notes except your list, and we're going to talk about it there. So, well. Hope you enjoyed season 1. We'll be working on season 2 here probably in a couple of weeks. Once by the time this comes out,
we'll bump
probably
these
already
out.
into season 2. So, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking by, and that's a wrap on this episode. And
cut.
We hope you enjoyed tonight's romantic story on the Twilight Zone. At the same time, we want you to realize that it was, of course, purely fictional. In real life, such ridiculous nonsense could never...
Rod. You shouldn't. I mean, you shouldn't say such things as nonsense and ridiculous.
Well, that's the way it goes.